Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly little get-together. We talk about the past week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is David Smith. Tonight, we have some news about the upcoming PSX and Game Awards that are coming up later this week. We have Ubisoft's changing stance on DLC, some Marvel vs. Capcom 4 rumors, which I'm kind of excited to get into. And I'm looking forward to get over that. As always, if you're joining us live, feel free to chat. I see you in the requirement. Thanks for joining us. Any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to pop it down. But without all more blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because a whole bunch of stuff just started happening on my screen at once, and I don't know what's going on. So if the show suddenly stops and crashes, you know why.
Dude, how was your gluttony-filled American holiday?
Fattening.
Excellent.
I am actually legitimately craving sugar constantly right now because I had so much pie over the past week, and normally I don't eat sweets, but since I had so much sugar, I'm going through withdrawals right now.
We had 4 kinds of pie.
That's fucking ridiculous. Well, what were they? Just out of curiosity.
There was a banana cream, an apple, a strawberry rhubarb, and a coconut cream.
So no pumpkin.
No pumpkin. Pumpkin-less.
That's unacceptable. By the way, if you're watching us, you might notice David's camera is a little bit blurry right now. That's mainly because of the internet connection somewhere. We don't know where it's coming from, but his audio's coming in, so we're going to keep rolling right through it and right into the first news story, and that's how it normally looks. The Walking Dead Season 3, A New Frontier premieres December 20th on PC, consoles, and mobile. The Walking Dead, of course, is, I would say, Telltale's flagship series. This is the one based off the comics, not the TV show that follows Clementine around. If you recall, the first one was her and Lee Everett. The second was her and new and previous survivors from that one. And now this one is, well, it looks to be a few years later. She definitely looks a little bit more grown up than she used to be. She's also not riding front and center on the pick here. She's kind of in the background a little bit, which makes me wonder if we have these new people taking over the lead roles. You have the bearded guy next to her, and the tough Ellie-looking chick from The Last of Us there. And then it looks like you got Tyrone Biggums in the background running from zombies with his flashlight.
For sure, that's what's going on.
But it should be interesting. I have said very recently I'm kind of done with the Telltale stuff. I would say The Walking Dead might be the exception to that. I've enjoyed the first 2 seasons, and I'm looking forward to this one. David, do you have any thoughts on The Walking Dead?
Well, the big thing is I know the gameplay might be a little stale, but the storytelling's still there. So, I mean, if you're there for the story, I don't see why you'd abandon it now.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's the one that started it all, man. It's The Walking Dead.
The narrative has always been top-notch with the Walking Dead games in particular, but Telltale's always had some good storytelling. Tales of the Borderlands and The Wolf Among Us being 2 outstanding ones. The Game of Thrones one they tried doing, not so much. I felt like it was hampered by the fact that that was set in the same universe as the show, and as such, you knew that certain characters were bulletproof at the time.
I don't think it was gruesome enough.
I don't know. You clearly hadn't played the game.
No, I'm saying in order for it to succeed on the level of Game of Thrones, it needs to be more gruesome. It needed to be completely over the top because there wasn't shock value in something that initially had shock value.
I don't know. There was, like the end, not to spoil anything for a game that's been out for a while, but the end of the first episode of the Game of Thrones series is really fucked up. Like, surprisingly fucked up. It has that shock value. What it lacks, however...
Well, then you're just mad at nothing.
What it lacks, however, is the rampant nudity that every HBO show is known for.
Yeah, that's fair.
In fact, Westworld, that new TV show, I immediately remember sitting down and going, okay, I'm going to give the first episode of this a shot. I guarantee you, being on HBO, I'll see tits in the first 5 minutes. Not only within the first 5 minutes, in the first 5 seconds. So, HBO, they know what sells.
That's true.
Anyways.
It's retellings of 80s movies. Actually, I think it was like 78 when Westworld came out.
Westworld was late 70s, maybe mid 70s. Yul Brynner, based on a Michael Crichton book.
Fantastic movie, by the way. Anyway, we're supposed to talk about games.
Yeah, we're babbling.
It's a fantastic movie.
Next topic. Ubisoft says no more DLC that gamers have to buy to get the full experience. Now, this comes via GameIndustry.biz, with the aforementioned quote right up there. Ubisoft's VP of Live Operations, Anne Bourdelle-Jouin, on what Ubisoft has discovered from giving away from Rainbow Six DLC. By the way, I'm pretty sure I butchered that name.
That's French enough.
Yeah. French enough. So, anyways, the article goes on to say that Ubisoft says it will no longer sell DLC that gamers need to fully enjoy the game. VP of Live Operations told GameIndustry.biz that the publisher now looks to support its multiplayer games for between 5 and 10 years, and in order to keep players engaged, the firm must be very careful when it comes to monetization. Ubisoft has enjoyed a lot of success with Rainbow Six Siege, a shooter where extra maps are being made available for free. Gamers only need to pay if they want to customize their character or buy new ones. More detail as it goes on. Essentially, what Ubisoft is saying is we are not going to do map packs or anything like that. This is not a full backup from
DLC heavy experiences
DLC,
that is
however.
most Ubisoft games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They will be damn sure.
They're wording it in such a way that they're trying to get people excited because they've kind of been sinking their own ships recently. They release some really buggy games and some horrible DLC plans, and people are really sick of it. It's killed several games, not necessarily Ubisoft games, but I always just think of what happened to Evolve when there was 80 million versions of it, most of which you had to pay a lot for.
There's a pretty big backlash against DLC in general, so
they're starting to realize that, hey, guess what? Horse armor doesn't really cut it anymore if horse armor is needed to get through this checkpoint.
Right. Good on them. Keep in mind, let's not necessarily give them praise for doing something that they should be doing to begin with.
Yeah, to be fair, all they did was announce that they've been fucking up. Yeah. They haven't actually proved anything yet. So
this is the old Chris Rock bit about the mom who brags about taking care of her kids, which is her fucking job to begin with. Keep in mind, Ubisoft is still the company that when we go to conventions, we see them have a pre-order store set up. This is the company that forces you to go through Uplay, which, as a side note,
I was just going to say,
fucking having a bad day today.
This is the same company that I refused to buy games from because I had Uplay installed on my computer for the entirety of how long it took me to beat Driver 3. I then promptly deleted both things.
As you should. By the way, no joke. If you have a Uplay account right now, I would recommend going on and changing your password or even just removing your computer. I'm hearing there's a lot of issues going on with people being charged for shit they didn't buy. I haven't fully vetted this yet, but better to be safe than sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that they're not going to segregate the player community, that any content, quote-unquote, should be free, according to what I'm gaining from this article here. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to try to sell you a multitude of skins, extra character slots, quality of life changes to the game itself, so just keep that in mind. Once again, we are talking Ubisoft here. There is a term called Ubisoft game. When I say it's an Ubisoft game, you know exactly what the game is going to be like. So they are definitely big on Ubisofting. I mean, we all know what I mean when I say that, right? I mean, I'm not like speaking.
You can't use a word to describe a word. Although I do understand what you mean. Ubisoft has a certain flavor of game that tends to just make people upset because they're released hastily, bugly, riddled with DLC. They're way too expensive. They have a bunch of bonus bullshit that you don't need. And they all run on Uplay.
Yeah.
So, yes, I get what you mean when you say they like to Ubisoft.
I very much wish that The Division did the same thing that they did with Rainbow Six Siege. Because The Division started off as a fantastic multiplayer game. I loved playing The Division for like the 3 weeks before they started rolling out patches. But now with like the season pass stuff, and it just went way downhill. Whereas Rainbow Six Siege is still continuing on strong. It still has a very dedicated fan base to it, and for the most part, they never really fucked that one up. Not having a single player campaign aside. So
that game's doing well.
Yeah, and I'm told Watch Dogs 2 is actually pretty solid as well. So I'm going to take a look at that. We'll see, however, if they can keep that going on. I think their next big multiplayer release would be Ghost Recon Wildlands.
That's fair.
Looks interesting. It's a 4-player open world co-op game, so that could be fun.
Well, let's talk about a company that likes its fans more.
Yeah,
makes games that people like a lot.
and that would be the game Overwatch and the company Blizzard, and specifically about how they're making changes to Symmetra.
This is big news, people.
Yeah, well, big news if you're a fan of Overwatch. Otherwise, you'd give two shits about it. However, we both play Overwatch on the regular. Definitely have to talk about when Game of the Year comes up, I think. But apparently Symmetra, everyone's favorite little architect with the short-range portal gun-looking weapon, is getting she's getting revamped, essentially. Requirement, by the way, thank you for saying thanks for 70 episodes. Not really a milestone I would choose to celebrate. 70 is kind of an odd number to pick, but thank you anyways. Anyways, the Symmetra changes are on the PTR. The big things you need to know: one, her shield. She used to have the shield you could put on people. That's changed now. Now
that's super useless ability where you press E at the beginning of the match on all your friends, and they get a shield that lasts until you remember to put it on them again.
No, not even that. Because if you remember to put them on again, as long as they haven't died yet, you can't put it back on them. It's even more.
So limited. Usually it lasts for 1 or 2 deaths, and then you don't get shields anymore.
As someone who has Symmetra as his second main, trust me, that sucks. Now it's essentially this giant ovoid shield that
it's
she shoots.
A moving Winston shield.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Not a 360 shield, but a curved
not
shield
as big.
that goes forward. That's been replaced with some wackiness from what I hear on the PTR. Apparently,
you move it. You just toss it out and it moves, and so your team can use it to assault, or you can use it to defend, or it looks awesome. I'm very excited that she has an ability that does stuff.
Yeah, they've also changed up her ultimate a little bit too. Normally she has a teleporter, which is awesome, but very situational. Not really good for offense.
She's
really
good for the beginning part of a defense on any defense map.
Yeah. Now she has 2 ultimates. She still has the teleporter, but she also has a shield generator now, which she can drop. And it kind of projects a bubble around everything. The important thing about that is that shield goes through walls. So you can hide
and the range on it is huge.
I think it's May-sized. I'm not positive, though. Like May ultimate-sized. I'd have to look.
What do you mean?
I haven't seen it.
The range?
Yeah. Or is it bigger
than
May's
ultimate? The range is ridiculously big. From what I was watching from the early PTR footage, they had it down in the testing grounds on the backside where there's the 3 guys on the platform, and he was able to walk all the way up to the front before he lost the shield.
Oh,
I mean, big. Like the biggest range ability conceivably in the game. Besides throwing a diva ult. I don't know.
That's impressive.
Real big.
A couple other quality of life changes for her as well. They stocked how many teleport turrets she can stock has been increased from 3 up to 6.
Which means you can immediately place all of them at the start of a match instead of having to wait.
And they reduced the cooldown time on those. I think it went from 12 seconds to 10 seconds, which is fucking big if you're moving and dropping turrets everywhere. Also, teleporters changed a little bit. Less health, but bigger shields. So that way it can get, healed, as it were. And her range for her weapon, the main fire, the primary fire, has been increased a little bit farther. So I'm probably going to be playing Symmetra a lot more than I have been, because I always liked her.
I think a lot of people are. She's actually going to be really solid in a lot of comps, including on attack, because she's got a shield that she throws out.
Yeah,
just think throwing that shield generator on the moving platform if you're pushing, like in Kings Row or Hollywood.
Yeah. Anything that let her become actually offensive helps, because she was super powerful in super situational situations. Situational situations.
She had a very high win rate and a very low pick percentage.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this. Symmetra, like I said earlier, was one of my mains for the longest time. Her and Soldier are actually my 2 bread and butter guys when I'm tired of fucking around and kind of want to win something. Not that I'm great at Overwatch, but I find
that update is currently live on the PTR. So if you have the playable
word on when it's hitting, environment,
usually PTR changes will hit in about 2
weeks. So expect her before Christmas, I would say.
Yeah.
Anyways,
something else you didn't expect before Christmas that no one was expecting or waiting for.
David?
Updates to No Man's Sky. After a 3-month break of just dead silence, Sean Murray's Twitter has again activated.
Yeah.
They have announced the foundation update, which is No Man's Sky version 1.1, more or less. They have a whole big video on it. It goes through a few different things. We got this information from Ars Technica, but you can also read it on their blog, I believe.
Yeah, I have the No Man's Sky blog up right now.
Yeah, so it talks about how you're going to have 3 separate modes in the game coming out. So there's the base mode that everyone was playing before, which is the normal mode, which is just exploring, fighting, blah, blah, blah. There's survival mode, which makes it much more difficult to survive in the harsh environments, bigger reliance on resources. Fighting is more difficult. You have less health, all that fun stuff. And then there's a creative mode, which is the easy mode, where you take less damage. But the question would be, okay, so why do I have a creative mode in a game where all I really do is fly and gather resources? Well, the biggest thing they're adding is base building. So they're more or less trying to turn this game into Space Engineers, or I guess Minecraft if you want to go that way with all the infinite nonsense. But yes, you can actually land on a planet, you can build a base, you can build save points on a planet, you can actually put custom waypoints now.
Do we know how in depth the base building is going to be? Is it going to be like Minecraft, or even to a lesser extent Fallout 4 with its settlement system, to where you can actually customize every part of the base? Or is it going to be more like, here's your level 1 base, it looks like this. Here's your level 2 base.
No, it's definitely not that. It actually is, I would say, more on the Fallout 4 side. You have pre-constructed things that you can make, but you can also build tunnels, you can build bridges, you can build walkways, you can build rooms, you can build a hydroponics plant. You can actually hire aliens to man your facility, to sell you weapons, research technologies. You can grow plants indoors, you can grow plants outdoors. The other big thing is you can actually buy a full-on freighter now. So if you remember flying into space early in the game and seeing all those cool big ships that are sitting out just outside the atmosphere that you could do literally nothing with except for occasionally defend from pirate attacks, you can actually buy one of those now that will follow you universe to universe, which means that you can actually send material that you gather straight up to your freighter, which makes selling and trading materials much easier. In addition, materials are stackable now, so the amount of material that you can actually get and keep on yourself is increased by quite a bit. So they're trying to make the repetitive, grindy nature of it a little bit less so by making it easier to farm for materials that you need, and give you something to do with them, because you'll be able to build bases. And the other thing with the base building is they're going to allow you to actually create a home planet. Now, I don't know how that's going to work as far as travel and the fact that the game's flipping infinite, but you'll actually have your own home planet where your base is, where your save points are. So from what I understand, there's going to be some kind of teleport system where you might be able to teleport back to your home planet and then hopefully teleport to wherever you were and not lose a shit ton of progress. But I don't know. That's just my speculation. But it's something. There was a video, and more or less the internet doesn't give 2 shits about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a bunch of like quality of life improvements, UI updates, some extra graphical oomph if you want to max out a little bit more.
It's smoothed out a little. They've cleaned up some textures. They've cleaned up some lighting. Anti-aliasing big fix. There should be less tearing and all that other fun stuff. So
here's the thing:
biggest update so far.
It's good that they're still working on this game and trying to eventually make it what they promised. This is a first step in what needs to be many, many, many steps to get up to the level of bullshit they were selling before. But you hit the nail on the head. This is way too little too late. And it didn't fucking help that they went dead silent for 3 months since
they didn't say anything.
They just said, hey, we're working on stuff, and that was that. 3 months after the fact, do you have the ability to pull up how many people are actively playing No Man's Sky right now?
None.
Okay. I didn't know if we were able to like pop and check current users or anything like that.
Yeah, I can tell you. I actually check it enough that it's on my recent page on Google.
Pull that up real quick. Find out where we're at. I'm kind of curious to see how many people are.
Keep blabbing. I'll let you know.
I will. But this is one of those cases where, I mean, we've already gone over the marketing problems with No Man's Sky and about how they just fucked the message up all to hell on that, rather than saying, hey, listen, this is what we have at start and we're going to add more to it. It would have developed more goodwill that way if they just would have gone that route rather than promising the sky and giving us a one-story house. Now, the problem that followed after that is an entirely separate issue from this main one, and the fact that there was no communication about what the fuck was coming from these guys. And definitely no communication after they had that weird hacking issue where someone from Hello Games, apparently, we still don't know the details, but when the No Man's Sky account tweeted out No Man's Sky was a mistake, they have
also
piss poor communication skills.
The peak current players yesterday was 7,000.
7,000 compared to the, I believe, 220,000 people that bought it on day one.
Yep.
So let's see.
Although,
do some quick math
now
here.
Here's the thing that's interesting. From when we originally reported that it had dropped to an all-time low of literally nothing, because at one point this game had less than 2,000 players. Since this update announcement, it has managed to gain, on average, an extra 5,000 players a night.
Congratulations. Now you have 0.3% of your starting player base.
Yeah, that's not a lot, but it does show that there are at least a few people that have hope that this could be what the game needs to turn around. Now, obviously, I don't think this is enough to completely turn the game around. It is a step in the right direction. And the biggest thing for me is I'm very happy that they are still working on the game and they're not just leaving it as it was. Because we heard all those rumors of people leaving, going to different companies, joining other ill-fated space games. But the fact that there's still a team still working on this game makes me happy.
Is there a
But
game...
I'm the guy that actually liked this game because I think it's relaxing. So...
Is there a game that has been more derided by the public that you can think of in recent memory? And I'm even including Aliens. I was about to say Colonial Marines on this. Because Alien Colonial Marines didn't nearly have the big drive as this did. There was a hardcore fan base that was into it, but it was nowhere near as massive as this one was.
I feel like we talked about that game longer than we talked about this game. Because this game had a very short flash of, oh shit, No Man's Sky. And then No Man's Sky was just shit. And we had a week of, oh man, that game sucks stories. We dragged Colonial Marines through the mud for like 3 months.
To be fair,
because
a lot of that was driven because of me, because I'm a fan of it.
Well, there was continuing stories. That's the big thing, is there was always something new to hate about Colonial Marines.
Well, there's always...
No Man's Sky, there was a whole bunch of shit to hate about it, but it was all up front. It was all real front loaded. It was a shotgun blast of stupid bullshit that no one liked.
There's a couple
things Marines really dragged it out.
There's a couple things I disagree with you on. One, I also want to make the clarification. I'm not a fan of Colonial Marines. I'm a fan of the franchise. The franchise deserves a better class of game than Colonial Marines. But as far as being front-loaded, that's not necessarily true of No Man's Sky, because we had the initial launch, which was shit. We had 3 months into it, or 3 weeks into it, suddenly Sean Murray just going dead silent on Twitter. That was one thing. Then we had the apparent lawsuits that were coming up a week after that. That was one thing. And then we had the aforementioned maybe hacked, maybe disgruntled employee Twitter spat that said No Man's Sky was a mistake. Like, this game does keep getting brought up over and over again. And, I mean, we do it. Every 2 or 3 weeks we talk about this game, and we have since launch.
That's fair. I mean, you're probably right. I just felt like we talked about Colonial Marines more. But again, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
I think the reason why we talked about Colonial Marines so much and talking about it now is because the person who writes the notes is a huge Aliens fan.
That's fair.
So there's some confirmation bias going on there.
That's totally fair. Whatever.
But for the most part, people just don't even know what that game is anymore.
Hey, people are still working on that. There's a bunch of mods for it.
Yeah,
they're trying their best to make Colonial Marines playable.
Well, while they're waiting to make Colonial Marines and No Man's Sky actually playable and pops what they were, we have a convention coming up where there is a bunch of stuff that's going to be playable. That was a piss poor transition, but fuck it, we're going to roll with it anyways.
That was the worst thing I've ever heard.
That was horrible. But the point is, PSX is this weekend. That's the PlayStation Expo. And they put up a blog post with a whole bunch of games and announcements that are going to be. We're going to skim through this real quick. We're not going to do too much on it. If you don't know what it is, PlayStation Expo is a PlayStation Sony-themed conference that's going to be taking place December 3rd and 4th down in Anaheim. Last year it was up in the Bay Area. Before that was in Las Vegas. I kind of hope it comes back to the Bay Area again because that made it really convenient to go to.
I would just say, right up front, if you were somehow in the area where this is going to happen, it's convenient to get to, and you can get tickets for it, I would actually recommend going because Sony puts on a hell of a show.
There's a reason when we went last year, it was reasonably cheap, and it was damn fun.
If you own a console or if you hate them, because I didn't have a PlayStation at the time we went, and I thought it was awesome. So throwing it out there. It's real nice event. It's classy.
Well done, David. Here is the tentative schedule. Saturday, they have 6 panels. Saturday, it's all listed as unannounced panels. To me, that means these are going to be on games that they're going to announce at their keynote earlier that morning. I personally expect like Marvel vs. Capcom 4, which we're talking about here in a second, and The Last of Us 2 to be announced there. The third one, who the hell knows? On Sunday, they're going.
Well, let's see. What did they talk about last year? Final Fantasy VII.
Was there a panel on that though? I don't remember a panel on that.
Well, remember in their whole opening sizzle reel that they had last year was when they announced the Final Fantasy VII thing, right? Or they showed it. Or did they announce Shenmue? I don't even know.
Well, Shenmue and Final Fantasy VII were both at E3.
Oh, were they? I know.
Yeah. But last year they did have
I know those
some
were big.
Those were big.
Yeah, those were big things in the conference, though. And we haven't heard a lot about those recently, so I'd imagine they have some kind of reel with more information.
Possibly. If they were smart about Final Fantasy VII, they wouldn't mention it at all. And Shenmue is not under the Sony real brand. Like, they're publishing it, but it's not really one of their games, so I don't expect to hear. On Sunday, you have Guerrilla Games talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, one of my most anticipated titles of next year.
Looks fantastic.
The guys at Kinda Funny doing a live version of PS I Love You. Essentially, what Kinda Funny is another Twitch show made of a bunch of ex-IGN guys. And accessibility, making games for all games. Who cares?
Wow.
There's going to be there's a list of 100 playable games down there. We're not going to go through this whole list. The only one I wanted to mention right now is, I moved that aside, is Ace Combat 7. Literally the only thing on that entire list I wanted to mention.
You would. You're an Ace Combat fanatic.
We all knew Ace Combat 7 was coming, or at least I did, and I'm the only one that cares. But the fact that it's going to be playable on the show floor means that game is much farther along than I was expecting, and I'm super excited for it.
Dude, but what about Growl Mark of the Wolves? What about Drawn to Death? That game's fun.
Drawn to Death will probably... You know what? I fully
what about
expect...
Knights and Bikes?
I fully expect Drawn to Death to have a release date before the end of the year. They're going to drop it at PSX. I think they're going to do the whole, and you can buy it now. It is a full-price game now, by the way. It's going to be a $6 charge rather than free-to-play. I think that's a smart move. I personally feel that free-to-play shows a lack of confidence in your game. Angry Bish says, Kinda Funny, also work with Rooster Teeth. They have a partnership with Rooster Teeth for mainly merchandise reasons, and they show up all their RTX stuff. But they, as far as I know, have no official, like, we work for you guys on there. By no means am I 100% positive on that, though, Angry Bish. Thanks for joining, by the way. So
also, Last Guardian's playable on the show floor.
Yeah, well, that fucking better be. That game's out, like, next week.
It's true, but it will be. Resident Evil 7? Persona 5?
Persona 5.
Psychonauts?
See, here's the thing. Psychonauts is something that's new. But stuff like Persona 5, that's already out in Japan. That doesn't surprise me. Resident Evil 7 launches in January. That doesn't surprise me.
What about Yooka-Laylee?
I didn't... Okay. That might have...
That game got kickstarted like 8 years ago.
Yeah, I actually forgot completely about Yooka-Laylee. That and Psychonauts Dramas of Ruin, the fact that that's going to be their playable is kind of surprising. I didn't expect that game to even come close to launching. But...
Yeah, see, so there's some cool stuff to look at. Like I said, if you're in Anaheim, go take a look. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Mostly because they're probably going to give you a bunch of really cool free shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's convention fare, but it's cool convention fare.
Yeah. They gave they gave a lot of really cool swag at the last one. That's my major takeaway.
Yeah, it was good.
I got better stuff.
It's good.
I got better stuff from the 2-day PSX than I got from 4 days at PAX.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's good if you're in LA. Go give it a shot. And while you're taking a look at it, go take a look at the Capcom Cup, because that thing was fucking awesome. Which brings us to our next topic. There's a rumor that Marvel vs. Capcom 4 might get announced at PSX, specifically the Capcom Cup this year. Now, this article comes... Yeah, I know you're kind of on the fence on it, and I am too. But this comes via...
I'm actually not on the fence about it. If it happens, I will be stoked. I just really don't think it's going to happen.
Angry Bitch GamePoints episode 69, by the way, is not necessarily flowing with enthusiasm. I thought about doing something childish for it. I decided against it. Not that it wouldn't have been funny. But anyway, Shorty.com headline, Marvel vs. Capcom 4, Rise of the Reveal Rumors. as you can see, there's this poster that's been making the rounds. It's the Fantastic Four font with Marvel, Capcom, PlayStation 4, 2017. Apparently, there is some leaked reveal trailer stuff. I'm really reluctant to give my 100% okay on this because it's so fucking scattered. It's so clusterfucky, and it's of low quality enough to where it could look like it has been faked. And originally, my stance on this was it's totally faked. However, an hour before we went live, Polygon started reporting on it. Now, love or hate Polygon, and I've gone on this rant before, but when it comes to leaks and shit, they're usually on top of their game because they multiple vet their sources. Now, that's not necessarily saying they're going to be wrong, but their sources are saying this game is real.
See, I would absolutely love for this to happen because the Versus series of the Marvel games are my favorite traditionally. Like Street Fighter V, cool. Not really for me. I mean, I own Ultra Street Fighter 4. I played a lot of Street Fighter games, but they're never really the one that I sink a lot of time into. But the Versus games, Marvel vs. Capcom, if they somehow announced another Capcom versus SNK, I would be all over it. But yeah, these are the ones that for me are the most fun, and especially if you're someone who watches Evo or a lot of the fighting game tournaments, they're the most fun to watch for me as well. So I would be stoked to see it, but I refuse to believe that Capcom actually likes their fans enough to let this happen.
What was the fighting game that had a bunch of different franchises in one, but the problem was all those franchises brought over their fighting styles as well, rather than homogeneize them across all of them?
Oh, was that the cross one?
Yeah, I think so. So, like, you would have people that would literally have different, like, playing techniques. Like, gameplay mechanics were physically different between character to character. And some gameplay mechanics were far superior than others, so it was just, like, fucked up the balance all over. Anyways, that's a separate game.
It happens.
The important things to know about this game. One, you did mention that Capcom doesn't necessarily listen to their fans, but you know what? They are trying. They have had a very positive push to try to actually listen to what people want over the past few months. So it makes sense this would be coming out. That said, Marvel is now owned by Disney. And Disney has been trying to bring in all their video game properties to be published under their own brand. That's why Kingdom Hearts 3 has some issues going on. At least that's what's rumored, one of the rumors behind that. Also, Marvel vs. Capcom, one of the big characters in that are the X-Men and Magneto and stuff like that. That universe is currently in a clusterfuck of legal issues between Fox and Marvel, Disney right now. But does that extend to the games, or is that just films? I don't know. The whole thing has a lot of stuff going against it to be true, but also a whole lot of stuff going for it to be true too. And I guess we're not going to find out until, what, Saturday is when this would actually drop?
It would be Saturday. I'm very hopeful. I'd like to see it.
It would definitely be a surprise.
Like
this would have come out of nowhere.
If it does come out, please, for the love of God, don't pull another Street Fighter V. Give us an actual full game. Don't release a game with 9 characters.
Now, this could be, I don't want to necessarily say the doomsday scenario, but I think it would piss a lot of people off that I could see happening, is that this isn't Marvel vs. Capcom 4 as much as it is paid DLC to Street Fighter V that puts Marvel characters into it.
Nah.
No, you don't think that's what they'll do?
Nah.
Why not?
Because all the DLC is costumes.
They haven't actually added characters, or is it? I could have sworn they added. Did they add characters in their free updates?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure the post-launch characters are all free.
Okay. I don't play fighting games. It's totally not my bag.
But anyways, I've honestly been waiting. I don't currently have Street Fighter V. I've been waiting for the Ultimate or whatever Mega Edition. The one that comes out that actually has all the features that I give a shit about.
Yeah, agreed. But anyways, we'll find out for sure come this weekend, or perhaps even sooner if something actually leaks that can be traced back legitimately to it. But it's definitely interesting to talk about because I know there's a lot of MVC fans out there.
Sure.
Anyways, other stuff that's happening this weekend is the Game Awards. And that's Jeff Keighley's attempt to try to bring some class to video gaming industry while also simultaneously having ads by Mountain Dew and Doritos all over the place. I mean, that's the joke. I've met Jeff Keighley. He's actually a solid cat, but I mean, come on. He's called the Dorito Pope for a reason.
I would like to be the Dorito Pope. Doritos, if you're looking for someone to talk about your product, totally for sale.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be Dorito Pope before you can be taken seriously. I mean, that's just how the transition of power goes. But anyways, the Game Awards coming up this Thursday or Friday. I unfortunately don't have the date right now. I think it's Friday now I think about it. Also in Anaheim, so if you're checking out PSX, you can take a look at the Game Awards. I got mixed feelings on it. I remember, like, last year, Kiefer Sutherland winning Best Voice Actor, despite Kiefer Sutherland voting in that performance. So it's very much a popularity contest on the lines of, like, the MTV Movie Awards. But he also is trying to walk that fine line of class, like what the Oscars might have, and it's really not working out either way. He needs to kind of pick one or the other and go with that way. But during the Game Awards, there's supposed to be a bunch of world premieres, as the trailers like to highlight on there, and one of them seems to be coming from Gearbox, as tweeted out by Randy Pitchford. Someone asked him, a Duke Nukem Gears of War crossover would be pretty badass. Was the email from the future, apparently a reference to something else about getting a rage mail from Gears of War. Which is funny because Gearbox doesn't make Gears of War. But anyways, he then follows up saying on December 1st, we're announcing something you might really enjoy, and he kind of does the coy, I'm going to laugh and smile and be coy about it, even though they really only have two things they could make that would fall into that category. One, a Duke Nukem game, which I highly fucking doubt. Or two, the often rumored Bulletstorm remastered, which I have to ask why. Was Bulletstorm even popular enough to get remastered? But fuck, if we can have Darksiders...
To be fair, that game was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it was bad by any stretch of the imagination.
Bulletstorm was hilarious. But no, I'm actually fully pulling for a new Duke Nukem.
No, it's not going to be Duke Nukem. That franchise, I don't want to say that franchise is dead, but that franchise definitely needs to be completely retooled, and I don't think Gearbox has it in them to do another one. I apologize.
No, it is a brand new Duke Nukem. Now, follow with me on this journey we're going to go on.
All right.
So we had the issue of Duke Nukem Forever and the fact that it was a N64 game that finally got released. Let's be honest. That's what fucking happened.
Yeah.
But before Duke Nukem 3D, it was a completely different style of game. Now, a lot of people are doing retro remasters, and throwback is very popular right now. So I'm calling just a straight-up Duke Nukem 4 2D side-scroller.
I could see that, like a Contra style, like think Contra
style,
like
Duke Nukem, fully voiced by John St. John.
That would be the best
dark
way
humor
for Duke Nukem to go. That would be
the
absolutely
best way for him to come back. It's him coming back in the what the hell's that shooter where everyone's a bastardization of some kind of American thing?
Broforce.
Broforce. It's the Duke Nukem Broforce game. He comes out. It's just tongue in cheek, ideally hilarious, which we know Gearbox has the capability to be hilarious. They just have to write it and let it happen.
Yeah, that would be an excellent way to bring Duke Nukem back, and possibly the only plausible way I can think of it being successful. I still say this is going to be the Bulletstorm remake.
Yeah, well,
just flat out.
We can say
once
what
again,
we want to say.
Do we really need a Bulletstorm remake? Really?
Was
that game popular enough to make a remake of?
I mean, it sold copies.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it sold copies, if you're going to be vague about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, once again, we'll find out this week. I'm sure that Monday's show will be chock full of information that drops over the weekend, assuming that I'm sober enough to do it, because I'm going to get... Anyways, never mind. David.
Yes.
That's all stuff that's going to be announced this weekend and played way, way, way in the future. But...
Let's talk about now.
If I want to play something now, what can I play now? When is now now?
Soon. So if you're looking for a brand new game, there's a couple really big ones that are coming out. So the first one is the Crew Ultimate Edition. I'm just kidding. No one cares about the Crew Ultimate Edition. I'm sorry, the Crew. You had your moment. Watch Dogs 2 comes out this week for PC. And if that's not enough of your money, Final Fantasy 15 comes out this week.
Before you say that, let us just straight up say that Watch Dogs 2 has already been released on consoles. This is the PC video. Over at Roz, the Steam is boring. You need to spice it up with some dank videos. You know, I'm all for the dank videos and dank memes. I occasionally put some in there for when we're talking. But I'm not going to do Dr. Gene's Banana Dance, unfortunately. Dr. Gene is a quack, and I believe he is currently serving a dime up in Gillette for assisted suicide.
Damn, son.
Anyways, Final Fantasy 15 also comes out this week on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
But I like the guacamole song. Yeah, Watch Dogs 2, Final Fantasy 15. Also, Star Trek Bridge Crew for PS4. This is their big VR game that a lot of their cons have shown off. Put a VR headset on and work the Star Trek Bridge. Very exciting.
Yay.
If you got to play it, which I never managed to do because the lines for that game were insane. So I'm assuming there are some people that care about it.
I want to take a look at it. I'm not spending money for it.
There's also Steins Gate Zero coming out for PS4 and Vita. This is a graphic novel style game. Visual novel style game.
You say graphic novel, people think Watchmen. You say visual novel, people think Steins Gate.
Whatever. It's a very popular franchise, but if you know what it is, you probably know if you want it or not. If you don't know what it is, you probably don't give two shits about it. So that's Steins Gate. Again, I mentioned Crew Ultimate Edition. There's also an expansion of the Crew coming out, so I guess if you don't want to buy just the expansion, you can buy the Ultimate Edition for everything. There is an expansion releasing for City Skylines, so it's natural disasters, which is very exciting.
Is what SimCity 4 should have been.
Yeah, the best part of SimCity is always the earthquakes and fires, so thank God that's finally happening in City Skylines. We have Maze coming out to PC on the 1st.
Now this enamored with the trailer for this.
This game is hilarious looking. It's a first-person adventure game about two scientists misreading a memo and accidentally making sentient corn. And apparently that's the most tame part of the game. There's an introductory video that features a talking stuffed Russian bear and a living piece of corn that's getting attacked by a crow. So I don't know what the fuck this game's about.
That sounds like a plot line from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, to be straight up with you.
But that's kind of what it's going. But the trailer makes the game look beautiful. So I don't know if it's just in engine and looks great or if it's just a trailer. So who knows? A big thing for a lot of people, the Hearthstone Mean Streets of Gadgetzan expansion hits. Gadgetstan. Yes. Hearthstone. New stuff.
Yeah, it's a card game. Blizzard makes it. I like it, but I don't spend any money on it, so cool.
Yeah. Super Mario Maker is hitting 3DS, and we also have the Ubisoft adventure sports game Steep coming out at the end of the week on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Steep being the game that kind of famously early in the year had a actual skier die during the filming of one of its promotional trailers. And that's honestly the most I know about it.
Yeah,
it's like a snowboarding game. It's an extreme sports game.
This was weird. This was announced at E3 this year.
Way after extreme sports games were popular.
Yeah, it's odd. It looks beautiful. I'll give it that much. It looks pretty, but then again, it's supposed to be GoPro the game. It has to look pretty almost by definition.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyways, that kind of does it for new releases. Final Fantasy 15 kind of sucked the oxygen out this week. With justifiable reason. It's love or hate Final Fantasy, it's still a big seller. So that's probably the game I'll be playing this week as we move on to topic of the week. And this week's topic of the week is brought to you by David. What did you have for us, David?
So, considering the fact that Friday was Black Friday and today is Cyber Monday and there's a sweet Steam sale going this weekend, the holiday shopping season is definitely in the air, but we always talk about how we never have enough time to play games, and we really don't like pre-ordering, and we don't always like spending all of our damn money on new releases. So my question for this week is, what is one of your, or a few of your favorite games that you shouldn't pay full price for? So it could be games that maybe aren't that amazing, but you love them anyway, so you like them when they're really cheap. They could be last year's AAA games. They could be this year's AA games, indie games, whatever. Just pick a few games that you think are worth it when they're cheaper.
Fair enough. If you are watching us, by the way, live, feel free to join in this conversation. Type your recommendations of what your bargain bin gems are down in the chat. We'll try to get to them. If you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to add those comments down below, and you'll probably be addressed there as well.
Specifically, obviously, I'm going into games that you would not pay full price for. Wouldn't touch it.
But you would pick up in a heartbeat on a Steam sale.
Yep.
All right. So I've got 3 myself. So why don't you go ahead and start us off here, David, because it's your list.
So my first one is actually a game that I bought quite a while ago, and I didn't look at it when it was first released, when it was a AAA game at full price, and I didn't even consider it because it was kind of a relaunch of a franchise that I had lost all interest in. but it's fucking amazing. And if you haven't bought Tomb Raider yet, you should probably buy Tomb Raider.
You can find it dirt cheap right now. The Tomb Raider reboot is fantastic. Highly recommend taking a look at it, especially if you love Uncharted.
Yeah, it's a great game. Agree. It looks amazing. If you turn on hair effects and turn it on Ultimate, it'll make your machine shrug a little. At least if it's mine. But yeah, that's my first pick.
My first pick is an open world game, as I believe almost every game on my list is, surprisingly enough. I did not think it was worth $60 when it came out because it was full of bugs, the plot was stupid, the main character is insufferable. However, for $20 or less, Just Cause 2 is an amazing buy.
Oh yeah, Just Cause 2. Now the big thing for me with that is you can also get the multiplayer mod.
Yeah, it will crash your computer more often than not, but Just Cause 2 multiplayer, when it works, is awesome.
It is hilarious. So the next one on my list is actually going to be a game that I've been waiting to pick up. So hopefully I'm right, and it's a game I didn't pick up when everyone else did, and that's Doom.
Doom is amazing.
Mostly because
Doom is $60. Game, I'm going to say it doesn't belong on this list. Doom is worth $60.
Well, I didn't pay 60 for it, but I'll pay $19.79.
Fair enough.
That game is 70% off on Steam.
I didn't know that. Yeah, Doom is amazing. Yeah. That might make my list of that might make my game of the year so far.
So yeah, that's something I didn't pick up. That's just dirt cheap. Got phenomenal reviews. Looks gorgeous, and it's really a throwback to the old school style shooters. So very excited.
My next one, if you haven't played it yet, play Dying Light. You get it for under $20 or even $30. It is an open world zombie parkour game with a truly terrifying day-night cycle. Normally, when the games have day-night cycle, it's like, oh, be afraid. It's usually because you're being stalked by something and the horror kind of wears off for a little bit. Dying Light, however, legitimately made me terrified to leave the base at night because I knew I was going to get fucked the second the sun went down. Not worth $60. It's kind of shallow for that price. But for 30 or 20 that you've been finding up for Steam sales lately, definitely worth picking up. Back to you, David.
Yeah, I really enjoy that game, actually. Now, another series for me that I never pick up at full price, and again, this is my list, so I'm sure tons of people bought this game, but it's something I always wait for, and that is just Civilization as a franchise. I never buy a Civ game at full price. I made that mistake with Civ 3. And by the time all the expansions came out, it was a much better game. I understand that a lot of people are telling me that Civ 6 kind of fixes all those issues, and it's a phenomenal game out of the gate. But for much less money, you could buy all of Civilization 5.
Yeah, definitely. I understand where you're coming from because they do release like 3 or 4 expansions, which add everything in there, and the Civ games drop in price real quick. In fact, you should always buy the previous edition if you're looking for it on the cheap when the new one comes out.
Yeah, and it's mostly just for that reason that I recommend it that way, because now that 6 is out, you can get 5 and all of 5 for just dirt cheap. And if you've never played it, it's a phenomenal game. Absolutely every reason to play Civilization. If you're into 4X at all.
Yeah. My final game, if you're looking for something dirt cheap to play, get a lot of time into it, and is just a blast for its current price point of $20 or less, depending on the Steam sale. I actually picked it up for $5 very recently. Is Mad Max?
Damn it!
Did I swipe yours?
And it's literally the last game. The Mad Max game is phenomenal.
For $60, hell no. The combat, the hand-to-hand combat is boring as fuck, and it drags on for way too long. And honestly, you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. But for $5 or $10, you are going to get 40 hours of entertainment from this game well spent.
I'm so upset this game launched against Metal Gear Solid 5 because I didn't even look at it.
One of the most beautiful games I've seen lately, despite it all taking place in a barren wasteland. The storm effects are amazing. There is nothing more satisfying than driving into a storm headlong, being able to survive it anyways. If you try to do it early on, you're fucked.
Oh yeah.
The plot is nonsensical.
Around. Doesn't matter. It's Mad Max.
The hand-to-hand combat, like I said, is passable. It tries to do a Batman.
It's Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, it tries to do an Arkham Asylum thing poorly, but the fucking car combat is amazing.
Oh yeah, looks great. Sounds great. Sound design is actually really good in this game too.
If you're bored
Mad Max
and you got
bargain
$10
bin
to spend, pick up Mad Max, and seems to be what we both recommend doing in that case.
Yeah, I think it's $18 on Steam right now.
Yeah, no joke. I found it for $5 when I bought it, and it's definitely worth $5.
I mean, I would pay 18 for it,
and you probably did.
I actually think I bought this game for 30.
But anyways, I think that's going to wrap up the top of the week. I did my 3. Do you have any more you want to add?
No, I think that's really it.
If you're in the chat or watching live, please feel free to comment or chat or whatever what your favorite bargain basement games are, and we'll be sure to get a hold of them next time. You can also email the show at gamepointspc@gmail.com with any of your lists or recommendations you would like to see for topic of the week, and we'll definitely do that as well. But barring anything else, I do believe we've come to the end of the show. This has been Game Points episode 70. We stream live here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. If you can't watch us live, please check out our YouTube page. Just type in Game Points, one word, and we pop right up on there. You know, take a look at all the older shows that don't get audio fucked all to hell. You can follow the show at GamePoints PC on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook and give us a like, subscribe, and do whatever the social media thing is. If you want to follow us individually, I am Stephen Brown at CapitalistPig21. David there is David Smith at Palshore_Satori. You can tune in to him if you don't want any Twitter feed at all because he doesn't use to it. If you could tune in to me if you really, really, really want to listen to political rants. It's not necessarily pretty. Angry Bish, topic of the week, game of the year. Our game of the year discussion will come either the 3rd or 4th week of December. So not next week, but the week after that or the week after that. The last 2 weeks of the show's topic of the weeks have been spoken for. One is game of the year. One is biggest disappointment of the year. And we might have to automatically exclude No Man's Sky from that list because it's too obvious.
That'll be honorable mention. Dishonorable mention of the year.
Yes. So those 2 topics have already been spoken for, but we definitely will be doing those not next week, but the week after that and the week after that. I just haven't quite determined the order I want to do those in yet. But good suggestion, Angry Bish. I appreciate it. Without further ado, I think that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for following, etc., etc., etc. We will see you next week if I don't decide to stream anything sooner. This has been Game Points episode 70, and we are out of here.